How to navigate life in chaos. A talk with Unmani.
So our theme today is how to navigate life in chaos. Well, there's a few aspects that I'd like to speak about, a few aspects to this title. We'll start with the word chaos. What does it mean? What is chaos? Well, life is chaotic, essentially. Right. We may think that we can control life or we can make it how we'd like it to be, but life is continuously surprising us. Just when we think that there's a certain order to our lives, or rhythm, or schedule, or plan, something happens to rock the boat and change everything, or at least a big part of things. And for the mind, this can be very disturbing. It tries to create some sense of order in the chaos, and it will continually fail. Or perhaps it seems to succeed for a while, but then again, life just smashes up the plans, and we see that it is chaos. But perhaps chaos is not a problem. I would say that actually seeing chaos as a negative thing, as a problem that I need to fix, or that I need to find a way to navigate through, that causes more of a problem, more suffering. When we see that actually chaos is the nature of life, we can actually let go into the chaos. And we might actually see that when we don't see it as chaos, there is a natural order. It is only the mind that calls chaos chaos, as opposed to order. And in fact, the natural order is not the order of the mind. It is of life itself, which has a natural intelligence. We may not understand it. We probably don't. We may not like it. It may not be comfortable or easy. But when we surrender our resistance to this so-called chaos, then actually life can be quite smooth in all the bumps, all the ups and the downs and the life challenges. There's a smooth kind of flow in that, with that. And it doesn't mean that life is always easy, but that despite any real rough times or challenges, there is a sense of knowing that this is how life is meant to be, simply because this is how life is. It is the resistance, the fight against the out of control ups and downs and ins and outs and apparently chaotic way of life. Is the resistance to this that causes the trouble. When we think that life should be different, when we think that life should be how we want it to be, when we think that life should be comfortable or according to our plans, then we will suffer, because when life has other plans, we will experience the pain and the frustration of losing control. So it's really about seeing the nature of life. And in seeing the nature of life, we know that it is absolutely pointless and absolutely futile to fight against it. And seeing that is a freedom and a relaxation. It brings a lot of rest despite the chaos of life. It brings a lot of peace, even though our actual experience may not always be peaceful. And this is the paradox of life, that we identify with the peace beyond it all, with the absolute surrender beyond all of life experience. And we see that every life experience is here with its own unique purpose. We may not understand it, but perhaps even when we look back at past life experiences, even painful ones, we can see that actually there was a deeper purpose in it. Perhaps it was to bring us more to our heart. Perhaps it was to see that what we thought was true wasn't in fact not true. Perhaps it was to see that we need to keep losing and losing everything that we thought we knew or who we thought we were. So we may not understand the purpose, but we can keep seeing that I don't need to know. I don't need to control this life. It's not up to me. Because who am I? There is no separate me that can control my life. In fact, there is no my life. My life is not separate from life. And it is when we believe that my life is mine to control and that it is separate to the life itself that we suffer and that we live in a dream. And this dream is made of fear. And it's not to say that when we wake up out of that dream that we never experience fear, but we see that fear is a very human survival mechanism of this animal, right? But it doesn't mean that I am separate from life and that I need to protect myself from the rest of life. I am life itself. And my nature is wild and free and chaotic, according to the mind, right? The mind says, yeah, it's chaos, but no, it's freedom. It's free flow. So the question of how to navigate in life in chaos, well, there isn't a how, really. And there isn't really even a navigating. There is surrender to that. But in practice, it is about sensitivity, really. First of all, it's seeing that I'm not this thought me, right? That thought me is simply a thought. And then whatever it says doesn't actually mean anything. But then it's the sensitivity to the moment, right? Feeling, sensing beyond what we think. When we can see that our thoughts don't actually refer to any me, and we can see that our thoughts don't actually mean anything. They're trying their best to just help this human to survive in the world. But the thoughts don't actually know the nature of life. They don't know how to live, really. So we don't take them so seriously and meaningfully. Then there is more sensitivity. We can feel and sense moment to moment the natural flow of life. And we can notice in ourselves when there is the resistance, and it can be subtle, right? We might just notice it as a subtle sensation in the body, or there might be very strong sensations and thoughts and emotions, depending on our own life story, depending on what we've been through in our lives. There may be more resistance to chaos, perhaps because in your particular life story, when there was chaos or some strong experience in your life, there was a great deal of suffering, perhaps, or trauma. And this can create more resistance in your life now when there are these kind of ups and downs and surprises of life. But when we meet these moments of resistance or push, pull, trying to control, trying to protect, trying to stop life, we meet those moments with gentle sensitivity. We don't make them wrong. They're not wrong. It's just very human, right? The thoughts and the feelings, the sensations are just trying to do their best to navigate in the world. They don't know the truth of who we are. So we see the nature of this human as well as the nature of life itself. This human is limited. It cannot control life. It cannot know how life is. But it tries its best based on what it has experienced in the past or what it has learnt. And there's a compassion there for these humans. There is a forgiveness. There is love, unconditional love. Meeting every little subtle moment of resistance or pain, heartbreak, or a little no's that come up. Meeting those, feeling them, welcoming them. They're okay to be here. It's just that they cannot stop the chaos. They cannot really stop the natural flow of life. But they try. And so we meet them and we welcome them. And at the same time, we know the nature of these sensations. We hold them in love. And in my experience with that, they tend to soften because they don't need to fight. Those little moments of resistance, they're there because we're trying to push against them. If they're welcome to be here and at the same time don't mean anything, we're not believing in them, they can, in their own time, at their own pace, soften. And more, there can be the lived experience of this natural flow. And this is the journey of embodiment, essentially. And this is the journey that can take the rest of our lives. And we're not aiming for some perfect experience of embodiment. There's no goal here. It's a lifetime journey, going, in fact, nowhere. Meeting these moments with curiosity, with love. So this is how I navigate life in chaos, it's simply about meeting myself as life itself. Meeting myself as this human, as this wonderful human that is an expression of life itself. And through this expression, I meet my true nature, who I really am as life itself.